Released by Gambarian in 2011 on the Nintendo Wii, Pandora's Tower would be an action RPG exclusive to the platform. Directed by Toru Hoga and Takao Nakano, the game would be one of the 3 titles released in the West under the fan initiative Operation Rainfall. For story, the game features a young warrior named Eren as he challenges multiple towers in order to save his love Elena from a cursed fate. For gameplay, the game features hack-and-slash action with 4 different weapons, alongside utilizing a whip-like chain that can be used for a variety of maneuvers such as disarming, tripping, swinging, or grappling. The game alternates between exploring, puzzle solving, and fighting the bosses of 12 towers, while under a timer that demands Eren return to Elena to reduce her curse while improving her affinity. The game also features crafting and upgrade systems, multiple endings, and New Game Plus. The story only gets larger from here, so let's cut it down to size with a recapitation. As the game begins, we are introduced to the continent of Imperia, wherein lies a forbidden wasteland named Okanos, and within is a rift thousands of leagues wide called the Scar. At the center of the fathomless fissure are the 13 towers linked to form a massive fortress suspended along 12 chains binding the surrounding landmass that altogether keeps the Scar from expanding and tearing the world apart. In the Kingdom of Illyria, it is the year 511 of the Unified Era, as in the capital city of Helicon, local songstress Elena is performing before the masses for their harvest festival. Hidden in the crowd is a soldier from the rival kingdom of Athos, Eren, who came to watch her performance. Suddenly, a mysterious symbol appears on Elena's back and she quickly transforms into a giant monster, destroying everything around her. As Eren would navigate past the chaos and debris, he would find Elena subdued by a strange nomadic pair of the Vestra tribe as an old lady named Mavda comments the beast's curse has claimed another victim. Eren rushes to Elena's side and Mavda says if he really wishes to help her, he'll need their help to do so. Taking Elena and fleeing the city, the group follows Mavda away to safety, though she warns Eren Elena is slowly turning into a beast again. Knowing she is not beyond help just yet, Mavda leads them to a massive ravine known as the Scar, where in its center hangs the fabled 13 towers. Elena's form quickly degrades as her mutation advances, so they take shelter in a nearby observatory outpost. Mavda hands Eren an artifact of her people called the Heraclos Chain, capable of extracting the beast flesh Elena needs to return to her normal self. Equipping the chain, Eren uses the giant links over the ravine as a bridge to the 13 towers, traveling to the first trial, Treetop Tower, where he sees a giant statue of a god symbolizing the element of wood. Monstrous servants wander the floor, and when defeating one, a well-aimed shot of the Heraclos chain pierces the beast's heart and extracts it in its entirety. Still pulsating with power, the beast's flesh isn't exactly preserved, and so he hurries back to Elena while experimenting with the versatility of the chain. Handing the flesh to Mavda, she presents it to Elena, telling her to eat it raw. As a follower of the Ios faith that forbids consumption of meat, much less raw flesh, Elena is sickened by the notion and protests, but Mavda reminds her it really is the only way to reverse her transformation. She leverages her love for Eren to change her mind, as Elena hesitantly chokes down the flesh, and the effects are immediate. As Elena painfully transforms, Eren sees the proof with his own eyes as the flesh indeed purifies enough of the curse to return her back to normal. After Elena rests, she is overjoyed to be restored and sees Eren back safe from the towers, now ready to go back home. However, Mavda halts her, telling her the curse is far from being lifted, pointing out the mark on her back as evidence of its persistent presence. Mavda adds she has only regained her form temporarily, as over time the curse will take hold and mutate her body again. Elena isn't keen on the notion of having to eat even more beast flesh, and Mavda informs them she is not the first to be cursed, and others who have let the curse run its course were found and killed by the Illyrian army. She answers more of their questions, such as how she is of a clan called the Vestra, who are now traveling merchants, and the old man on her back who speaks in tongues is her husband who fell victim to odd circumstance. She then explains in order to lift the curse, Eren must defeat the masters of all 12 towers, retrieve their flesh, and have Elena eat it in order to remove her mark. Taking them outside, she explains the Heraclos chain belongs to her people, and starts a ritual, imbuing some of Elena's hair into it. As it glows with new power, she explains the Vestra have the power to control the chains of destiny, which are the invisible ties that bind people together. She then entrusts the chain to Eren, which will now allow him to see the bond between himself and Elena too. Mavda passes along news the Illyrian army is actively searching for them right now, but likely will not think to look in one of their own outposts out here. Revisiting Treetop Shrine, Eren climbs the winding towers where an upside-down tree grows, shatters the chains barring the Master's chamber, and sees a massive monster who looks his way but pays him no mind. Remembering what's at stake for him, he strikes the first blow, dueling the giant guardian and successfully ripping the flesh he needs cleanly out. The Master makes one last grasp as it dies and disappears, and Eren hurries back to the observatory. Per Mavda's direction, Elena reluctantly bites into the potent flesh, and nearly collapsing, she is suddenly struck by a strange vision of people she does not recognize. As she sleeps, Mavda says this is only the beginning towards lifting the curse, as the next day the door to the next tower mysteriously opens. Aaron tries to lift Elena's moods with gifts to her liking, such as flowers, though when he leaves, Elena asks him to promise her he'll be careful, though he hesitates to reply. She extends her hand and proposes they shake on the vow of Ios instead, but he gets cold feet on the promise, exiting quickly but still meaning well. The crystal-crested causeways of the sheer drop spire reveal stronger servants of the tower, as Aaron tests new techniques with the Oracular's chain. Abandoned ore mined from the area lies about as he uses the lifts to confront the bulldozing master. Grounding the earth creature, Aaron evades its death throw as he indeed secures another pound of flesh for Elena. After choking down this newest offering, Elena now sees the strife brought about by the ancient war ravaging the land, mentioning this to Mavda. She adds that she saw the towers, though they were different and there was no scar on the land, which gives Mavda something to think about. The next day, Elena is found outside singing like normal again, though admits she doesn't remember much of what happened at the Harvest Festival. To the side, Mavda and Aaron know the Illyrian army is still hunting them both and have now placed a massive bounty on their heads while suspecting Aaron to be a spy from Athos. Undeterred, Aaron wades through the Wellspring Steeple where a giant water wheel winds the way forward. Notes from past guards warn him of the aquatic threats within as he works his way to the master and rips its choice flesh from its moving fissured organ. Getting back, Elena shows she has been busy using the resources in this observatory to translate old texts and research information that may be of use to the mysteries surrounding the towers. Again, consuming the master flesh imparts a dream to her, this time of a familiar-looking little blonde boy and his loving parents living happily. Looking into this, Mavda shares her suspicion that these dreams are linked to the monsters from which the master flesh comes from, but is unsure why they are happening in the first place. Masters themselves are living weapons created 50 years ago as part of the Illyrian army war effort at the time, though even today Illyria seeks any reason to resume conflict with Athos, even blaming the recent incident as hostile instigation. Elena then recalls how 3 years ago they met when a wounded Aaron collapsed outside Elena's village, and despite being an enemy soldier, Elena and her family took him in and saved his life. As it turns out, her father was once saved by an enemy soldier who looked the other way and was paying the favor forward. Determined to repay the debt, Aaron climbs towards the Crimson Keep where scalding steamworks line rivers of fire. Scaling the smelting pits and swinging from the spires, Aaron slays the fiery master, securing another master flesh. As she grows more used to devouring the meat, Elena now sees the loving couple sacrifice everything for the sake of their son Ruben and be determined to outlast the taxing war. As she sleeps, Elena then has a vivid nightmare about turning into the monster that demolished the festival, only to wake up in a shock and be more surprised to find her bed covers ripped apart. Looking over, she sees Aaron still safe, and relieved she chooses to keep this to herself, unaware he already knows. Talking to Mavda, she shares how the Vestra have seen this curse mark appear on other doomed souls, and some have even tried to tear the skin off their bodies to no avail, as the mark is only the signal of the curse, not the curse itself. The Vestra themselves were cast out of their homelands 450 years ago, left adrift as wandering merchants. However, Illyria would then ask for their help and knowledge with the Chain of Destiny in exchange for a chance to get their homeland back. With more on his mind, Aaron seeks out the clockwork ironclad turret, riding on rails and unlocking the way forward to a heated duel with the Dervish Master. Defeating the dangerous foe, Aaron finds he has downed the 5 wardens of the male gods of Ios, though he is only almost halfway through the 12 total now. After her meal, Elena sees another dream of the devastation from long ago. As she rests, Aaron himself now has a dream back to when he was first getting along with Elena, but this quickly turns into a nightmare of when he was barely surviving the front lines of battle. Finding the corresponding female warden towers now open to him, Aaron sets upon the Arcadian Tower first, cutting through the rapidly regrowing flora and edging out a win against the toxic topiary master, watching its writhing death. When he returns, he's a bit surprised to see Elena is now vocally eager for the next meal of master flesh, noting how softly she savors the benchmarks now. Immediately, her dream is filled with tragedy, as Ruben, wanting to see the horses of a parade procession, dropped his own toy horse and went to pick it up in the street. This would startle a horse that would trample and kill him, and worse yet, no one would immediately help him for fear of disrupting the parade. Hearing the anguished scream of the mother, Elena emerges from the dream in a strange daze, and as Aaron snaps her out of it, she senses something wrong with her. With eyes redder than Aaron remembers, Elena shares how followers of Ios worship 12 gods, a male and female god for each of nature's 6 laws, which are the tenets for their dogma. Mavda finds it odd the rest of the towers open on their own as if by invitation, and Aaron learns of secret research the Illyrian army was conducting. Taking advantage of the Vestra, the Illyrians had succeeded in creating technology that could emulate the creation of masters without the need of the Vestra or their chain. After numerous animal experimentation, they finally succeeded in creating 12 masters poised to usher in a new era for Imperia. However, there was one final experiment in master to complete, requiring a human capable of following instructions. Checking back with Elena, Aaron finds her on the roof of the observatory, stepping precariously close to the edge towards the towers, and once again Aaron snaps her out of a strange daze. Dropping down, she's afraid of herself now, and to calm her down, Aaron reaches out his hand, reassuring her. She asks if he still loves her, and forming the promissory seal of Ios with her, he tells her to never doubt it. Before heading off to the next tower, Mavda shares how the army denies the existence of the towers and even this observatory, though left after the cataclysm struck 50 years ago. It was then the final experiment ended in failure, resulting in a massive chasm in the land that swallowed thousands. The 13 towers would remain, suspended by mysterious chains, and the story Pandora's box would come to mind, with the towers perhaps being the remaining hope to the tragedy. Heading now into the rock-shod rampart, the bountiful quarry is kept by a crawling master that is crushed by Aaron's mantling efforts. In her latest dream, the parents are coping with the loss of Reuben and leaning on each other for support. Elena also shares that in the year 450 there was a war of succession between three kingdoms, and material was uncovered from about 460 years prior about the creation of powerful living weapons called Masters by the Vestra tribe. Mavda elaborates that the Masters made 50 years ago were based on the Masters made 500 years ago, and Elena is beginning to wonder if they can trust Mavda, while still feeling saddened by the mother in her dreams unable to accept the death of Reuben. To himself, even Aaron is disturbed by visions of an increasingly ravenous Elena in his dreams, finding that reality isn't too far behind. Proceeding to Torrent Peak next, Aaron pieces together the solution to the puzzling master, though still feels pain at putting them through this suffering. Euphorically, Elena eats the flesh, and this time the mother sees more children lost to the famine and disease caused by the war, and begins to pray to the gods of Ios to bless her and her husband with another child. Afterwards, Elena states she thought these dreams were from 50 years ago, but after what Mavda said, wonders if these dreams are of events even further back. Aaron looks back at the text she has translated from each of the Master's rooms so far, and finds everyone used to be a volunteer with their own lives and purpose beforehand. Now bracing himself for the blazing citadel, brazen enemies bar his way as he beats down the barriers of the burning Master. After Elena engorges herself, she now sees ancient Vestra reveal the power of the 12 laws, and afterwards begins to question what really happened 500 years ago as her cursed symbol glows. Later, as Aaron checks his gear, he is hugged from behind by Elena. He moves to touch her, but suddenly she shifts into a headlock and begins biting down into his exposed flesh. Getting out of her bind, Aaron blocks as Elena continues to try and bite him, glaring at him with dark red eyes that shift into inhuman vertical pupils. Tossing her down, Aaron hears Elena speak with a strange dual tone, asking Aaron why he's here as Mavda puts her to sleep with some medicine. She confirms something is wrong with Elena and suspects it began a while ago. She still believes the Master Flesh is eroding the curse, but it's clear some unexpected side effects are emerging, as Elena claims to have no memory of the incident. Finally tackling True Gold Tower, mineral veins trace the walls as Aaron takes down the tricky Temple Master. Back in the observatory, Elena shares she learned the military did not build the 13 towers, but instead repurposed them from their existence as temples. After eating her fill, Elena now sees at one point the couple heard word that there was a search for a vessel to unite the 12 gods in an effort to end the long war. For the sake of the children lost, including Reuben, the mother would go volunteer herself, though the husband did not enjoy the idea of losing his wife as well as his child. The mother would be used in Experiment Zero, where she, alongside 12 other vessels, would be sacrificed for the greater good. After hearing this, Mavda confirms what she has been looking into, insomuch that Elena is indeed turning into one of the Masters for the 13 Towers. She adds that while the recently deceased Masters were also once human, the flesh she has eaten was not human flesh. Rather, within the mysterious realm of the Scar are creatures that have traded places with those humans over time. She now reveals that she has actually known this all along, as her job is to escort those afflicted with the curse to the towers, though claims she was telling the truth that eating the Master Flesh will lift the curse. Still, she did not expect Aaron to wield the Oraculos chain as proficient as he does, much less defeat the Masters. Her husband chimes in, stating that there is actually a strong link between Aaron's ancestors and the chain, though Mavda is skeptical. Either way, they have gone too far now and Elena must eat the last two Masters' flesh, though the songstress is upset Mavda has hidden the true purpose of the curse from them. She then wonders if when she dreams she's actually crossing over to the realm beyond the Scar and something is trading places to possess her. Mavda adds there indeed are creatures who can control the 12 laws, as 500 years ago they tried to create creatures who could do the same. Unfortunately, that attempt failed, and so the Vestra used the power of the chain to seal away the 13 Masters. However, those Masters are now trying to regain physical forms and cross over into their world, and such is the true nature of the curse. Determined to save Elena, Aaron now takes on the duo of the Dawn and Dusk Towers, whose interconnected portals demand coordinated completion. The tag team of the Masters flank the warrior at every turn, and despite their best efforts to deny him victory, Aaron snags both of their Master Flesh and claims victory as the last two Masters meet their demise. Delivering both to Elena, she feasts on the prizes, and afterwards now sees the creation of the Masters, where during the process, something throws off the balance and an incomplete Master is brought forth. The mother would see another child with her husband, wondering whose it is, and then declare the lives of their children will henceforth be linked. The next day, Elena has gone missing, and Aaron thinks to check the roof again, finding her again, but seeing something is very wrong with her. He reaches out to touch her, but Elena turns around and pushes him back as cursed energy envelops her and begins to transform her into a large monstrous being. Declaring that the curse should have been lifted, Aaron is helpless as he watches the creature fly off towards the cathedral, and afterwards Mavda says all he can do now is trust in the bond he shares with Elena, the power of the Oraclos chain, and in himself. She encourages him not to give up, though muses the day may have finally arrived when the Vestra will be freed of past sins. Preparing himself, Aaron climbs a stairway wrapping around Centrum when petals of flowers that Elena loves brush past him as he hears familiar singing as well. Holding fast onto hope in his heart, Aaron turns to confirm his wish but instead sees the singing originate from the master she has become. As he is disheartened to see this, Mavda is right behind him and is surprised at the sight as well. The creature spots Aaron and approaches, pleased to be reunited after 500 years, much to his confusion. Aaron is snapped to attention as the face of Elena tells him to stay away, and Mavda wonders if this master is actually Experiment Zero. The creature confirms this, saying they have actually been together since the Harvest Festival, and the dreams Elena saw every time she gained Master Flesh were actually her own memories. Elena tries to resist, and Experiment Zero explains Aaron's efforts actually helped her regain her full power. She seeks now to stay together with Aaron, noting his uncanny resemblance to her husband, but Aaron makes his decision to put down one more master. With access to all 6 elements, Experiment Zero pushes Aaron to his limit as he weaponizes his bond to Elena through the Oraclos chain and strips the failed experiment of her power to edge out a win. Losing her physical form, Experiment Zero rushes towards Aaron, evoking the promise to always be together, but disappears at the last second, releasing Elena safely into his arms. Elena reveals Experiment Zero was actually Zarin, the grief-stricken mother of Ruben she saw in her dreams, who wanted part of the chain and the parts she lost 500 years ago. Elaborating, the man who wanted to join her in becoming a master was her husband and Aaron's ancestor. The only reason she went after Aaron was because of this bloodline to the man she loved, and the only reason Elena was cursed was because she loved Aaron. This curse has afflicted all of the loved ones of Aaron's ancestors for the past 500 years, though as Mavda announces, Elena is no longer cursed and the mark on her back is gone. However, just as they begin to walk away, the skies darken and they feel a rumble behind them. Bursting out, a colossal abomination of Zarin now appears, fueled by her cursed craving of family, and begins chasing down Aaron and the group. Breaking out of the binds of the pursuing bioweapon, Aaron fights back with his own bonds as he blows the beast back off of the edge. With a defiant swipe, it also knocks Elena off, and as she falls, Aaron expertly launches out the chain and pulls her up with the strength of the links between them. Zarin falls back into the mysterious abyss, and now in the clear, Mavda says the powered-up Oraclos can seal the scar forever now. Truly, her people have owed the world this peace for the calamity they helped create centuries ago, and are glad they are now able to find closure and peace for herself and the 13 vessels who sacrificed everything that day. Mavda tells them this is where they part ways, urging the couple to live a happy life now, and telling her husband what comes next will be their final task. With the restored might of the Oraclos chain in hand, Mavda uses its power to seal away the scar and Zarin, repairing the land and glad to sacrifice herself to rejoin the generations of those before her who fought for the opportunity they seized today. Watching from a distance, Aaron and Elena see the scar disappear and move on to their new future together. As the game ends, news now spreads across the land how the scar has vanished and the 13 towers have been destroyed. Before leaving, Mavda wrote the King of Illyria a letter that prompted him to expose the kingdom's dark past of bioweapon research, whose failure caused the cataclysm and created the scar 50 years ago. Though Mavda and her husband were nowhere to be found, the Vestra were granted territory back by the king and thus began to rebuild their country. With the scar gone, the country of Athos would offer peace to Illyria, and both sides would agree to a reduction of military might. In addition, Aaron and Elena were no longer hunted, and so would return to Elena's village and take over her family's trade. The army would investigate the former site of the scar, finding nothing but a bit of broken chain and no more creatures or cases of the curse. They also verified Eren was a direct descendant of Zeren who fought fiercely to be with her family. In fact, what caused the experiment to fail centuries ago was the discovery that Zeren was pregnant at the time, forcing the ritual to be shut down. The husband was released safely, but it was too late for Zeren, and the Vestra at the time decided to focus on saving the baby at least, using the power of the Arachlos to safely extract it from her. While Zeren would be lost as a master, the husband would survive alongside the child. Looking to his infant, who resembled Reuben, the husband had renewed hope for the future and trust in a bond stronger than death. Pandora's Tower has enjoyed the success of selling over 310,000 copies worldwide.